Hi, I'm Tracy Kim with DW Books, coming from Prachtwerk in Berlin, and today I'm excited to share with you my pick of the month. It's Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki, out with Verso, and translated from Japanese by a collective of 6 translators, and this is the first time that Izumi Suzuki has been translated into English. She is a Japanese legend of science fiction and a countercultural icon. While the 7 stories in the collection were mostly written in the 1970s and 80s, they still talk about themes that are super relevant for today. For example, in the first story, Women on Women, there's even a mention of pollution-free automobiles. And in this world, it's a matriarchal society where men live in a ghetto, which stands for Gender Exclusion Terminal Occupancy Zone. And one day, out of her window, a teenage girl sees what she thinks is a boy. It turns her world upside down, and it makes her question, where do babies really come from? In another story, Night Picnic, the last family in existence living in space watches old films and reads books to simulate what life was like on Earth in the 20th century as a form of cultural preservation. They play the roles of what they think to be a typical 20th century family, only to realize that maybe all of human nature wasn't documented in the movies. And what does it mean to really be human? And the title story, Terminal Boredom, depicts a world where the youth are continuously glued to their screens watching TV, and as a result, they're completely disillusioned and disaffected. They even think that old people have too much energy for things like going to work or having affairs. But still, there's a reverence for the truth. They care about if something really happened or if it was just on TV. These young people simply can't be bothered at the cost of losing any type of interpersonal connection. Now, I know that sounds a little heavy, but honestly, I wasn't expecting this book to be so funny. It's sarcastic and uses situational humor, and sometimes it's flat out deadpan. I was really intrigued by the world that Suzuki is building, and just the language is so colorful and stark and striking, and at the same time, I just found myself laughing out loud while I was reading, which I think is the sign of true mastery. A theme I really appreciated was the concept of time, how it's man-made, superfluous, fleeting, anxiety-inducing. Most of the characters are in the future, looking back at the 20th century and wondering what all the fuss was about, which is pretty refreshing and a reminder that everything is relative. So it doesn't seem like Suzuki is explicitly trying to teach the reader anything. She's never preachy or pushing any type of political agenda, and sometimes with speculative fiction that's making a political commentary that can age it. And so in this case, these stories just seemed ever relevant and perennial. They simply examine the human condition, the emotional connections under a different light. If you told me these were written today, I'd believe it. One of the translators pulled a quote from Suzuki saying, "There's something wrong with our present society, and I can't stand science fiction written by people who don't understand that." This snippet decodes a bit about Suzuki's approach to writing and what she was trying to accomplish with her stories. Suzuki died in 1986, but this collective translation really highlights all the different facets of her voice in her writing. Suzuki was born in 1949 and known as an art model as well as an actress, but she also had some pretty public and tumultuous relationships with prominent artists at the time. She had an extremely fascinating life, and I just recommend you look her up if you're interested. And all too often, women's lives become the focus instead of focusing on their work. So for today, I just want to focus on Izumi Suzuki, the author. I hope you'll check out Terminal Boredom by Izumi Suzuki, out now for the very first time in English. If you do pick up a copy, I'd love to hear about it or what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to DW Books for notifications when our channel puts out new videos. Until then, happy reading, and I'm Tracy Kim. Bye!